What's good? It's Wood. Alexander Usyk just defeated Daniel DuBois via 9th round TKO. I think it was the 9th. Was it? He got dropped in the 8th, and then he got stopped in the 9th. And I just wanted to give some initial reactions. I mean, I was just watching this at the family pad, and so I'm just leaving right now. And this was a pretty interesting affair. I mean, look, Usyk won most of the rounds en route to that stoppage win. But boy, if some of those moments weren't breathtaking. And I'm not just talking about the borderline low blow that was considered a low blow during the fight. That's why they stopped the action. Otherwise, it would have been a stoppage win for Daniel DuBois. But even in other moments, and we'll get back, by the way, to that punch in the 5th round, that we'll get back to that. But Alexander Usyk did a lot of the things that we've seen him do that have made him successful throughout the years, from his, cruiserweight campaign into his, heavyweight foray, including those 2 wins over Anthony Joshua. But we knew that Alexander Usyk was deservedly the big favorite in this fight. I thought that the betting odds were too wide. I didn't think that he needed to be like a minus 1,000. That means that he's a 10-1 favorite. I didn't think that Daniel DuBois should have been a plus 700. Daniel DuBois was better than advertised, going into this fight. I always felt with Daniel DuBois that, and you could see this towards the end of the fight, that he kind of negotiates with himself. You ever go on a very difficult long distance run or something, and you're thinking about, damn, at any point I could just pull that cord and stop running and start walking for this next. But then, if you're, really trying to complete the run and you're dedicated to that mission, you say no and you kill that quit inside of your head, right? Well, Daniel DuBois, first against Joe Joyce, which, I mean, he did suffer damage to the eye. He just seems like he's consistently asking himself, is it still worth it? Is it still worth it? Is it still worth it? And most of the time he makes the decision to continue and to keep on pushing and to keep on fighting. But it just seems like it's always just 1 or 2 strikes away from him reversing that decision and either, kind of going down, but not from any particular shot, just kind of like a get me out of here for this moment type of, the proverbial taking the knee. Yes, he did kind of fall down to both gloves, but it looked essentially like it was a conscious decision, like, okay, enough's enough. At least for right now, once I'm down, then I could consider and think about whether or not I want to get up. So I have felt that this negotiating internally exists within Daniel DuBois. And some people will just flat out call him a quitter. I wouldn't go that far, but let's just say I don't think he's got the same intestinal fortitude as Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. They are absolutely on some, you've got to render me like motionless for you to get this win. And they pretty much fight to the bitter end. Daniel DuBois, I feel like he's got more checkpoints on the way to total destruction. But there were some interesting moments because you could clearly see that right hand from Daniel DuBois was giving Usyk some problems. Like, Usyk protested to the ref at least 5 or 6 times in this fight. And it's weird. It's almost like the ref, based on Usyk's response, so if there was like a borderline hit to like the side of the belly area or like to the side of the belly and belt line, and then Usyk would kind of, tap near his butt, and then the ref will go up to Daniel DuBois like, hey, enough of that, and basically scold Daniel DuBois for what, upon replay, looks like a pretty legitimate hit. There were a few times, I'm serious, like a half a dozen times where Usyk was saying, no, that's a foul, and it looked like a legitimate shot. And they were giving Usyk the benefit of the doubt like every single time. So I thought that was a little bit bogus. But even the shots that he didn't totally protest, he would give a reaction, either take a couple steps back or kind of give a half smile to Daniel DuBois, where you could totally tell, especially with those right hands to the body, that it was impacting Usyk. To the point where, if you wanted to see Daniel DuBois keep his foot on the gas, you're just asking yourself, like, why is he not throwing more of those shots? And of course, he was getting hit like the whole time. If not by the jab, then by the straight left hand. But he was getting peppered almost that entire fight. Daniel DuBois was. So let's give him some credit for taking so many shots before basically calling it a night. But again, Usyk was winning, I would say probably 6 out of 8 rounds or something like that. You know, I gave Daniel DuBois the 5th round, the one with the controversial punch. My dad gave Daniel DuBois the round before that, but gave the 5th round to Usyk. So my dad had it like 3 rounds to 1. Usyk after 4 rounds, with the 4th round again going to DuBois. I had it 4-0 Usyk after 4 rounds. Although you could argue that that first round was a swing round. Like that first round really could have gone either way. So you could have conceivably, if you gave that 4th round to DuBois, you could have potentially had it 2-2 after 4. But Usyk was clearly the more skilled and better boxer, which we all knew he was going into that. But Daniel DuBois, I thought he managed range pretty well. Like, he would kind of, you know, his feet weren't terrible in this fight. They weren't as good as Usyk's, and the angles that he was taking were not as good as Usyk's. But he was throwing some nice counters. He was leading when he needed to lead. I felt like he needed to lead a bit more, but maybe he was cautious about the counters coming from Usyk. So, you know, Daniel DuBois wasn't going to just dive in there repeatedly, but I really felt like he needed to start throwing to Usyk's body like he was working a heavy bag. Because clearly, like, Usyk couldn't even hide the pain that he was in from some of those shots to the body. And, you know, Daniel DuBois threw a couple tricky uppercuts as well. He threw a few nice jabs that caught Usyk. He didn't land too many overhand, you know, straight right hands up top. But he was, again, throwing that right hand to the body. He hit Usyk with a couple nice hooks. Left hooks, especially to the body. And there was like a left hook, again, that Usyk reacted to, and he looked at the ref. He kept on looking to the ref, or keeping his eye on DuBois, but tapping his body, trying to signal that that was not a legitimate, clean, legal blow, which again, in a few cases, they were, and they were impacting Usyk. So there was definitely something there. You just got the impression that if Daniel DuBois could bite down just a little bit more and throw more punches, and who knows, maybe he was gassed to the point where he could have let that right hand go. And there were also a couple times where he let the right hand go, like in the 7th and 8th round, where he would throw the punch, but then he would kind of shake his right hand. And it had me thinking, maybe he hurt his right hand somewhere along the way, because again, for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why he wasn't throwing more right hands to the body, where every time damn near that he would land a right to the body, he would get an observable reaction from Usyk. But as I said, on the scorecards, Usyk was clearly winning the fight. At worst, after 8 rounds, you would have Usyk up 5 rounds to 3. But again, I feel like 6-2 would have been more accurate. And if you were on the extreme side, you could have had it 7-1 for Usyk after 8 rounds heading into the 9th round. Then I haven't seen what the official scorecards were. It is all academic at this point because it resulted in a 9th round stoppage. But I'd be curious to see how the judges had it through 8 rounds. If I find it before I upload this video, I'll, you know, post it on the side. But I thought Daniel DuBois, again, conducted himself pretty well. It was weird. In the 2nd or 3rd round, my dad was suggesting that, and I saw it too, it looked like Daniel DuBois' eye was damaged. Like the eye that would have been catching Usyk's lead right hand, you know, from the southpaw stance. So that would be Daniel DuBois' left eye. But I think that maybe DuBois just has one eye that's slightly smaller than the others, or he has like a natural squint or something like that, because it looked like he might have had a damaged eye like 2-3 rounds into the fight, but the eye didn't get any worse over time, which if it was an injury, you would have expected it to get worse, because it's not like Usyk stopped hitting that eye. Again, he was hitting him repeatedly throughout that fight, and then he started cuffing him around, you know, lead hand, left hand, scooping shot, left, you know, turning that right jab into a right hook, and then using that right hand hook, kind of a short hook, to guide him into another left hand. Daniel DuBois, again, wasn't getting like shaken up, but he was getting, you know, battered. He was getting battered, and it's understandable why he would be negotiating with himself, like, how much more of this do I want to take? Because, you know, just because the guy isn't wobbly doesn't mean that he's not getting badly damaged. Maybe it's just that Daniel DuBois' legs are able to absorb a lot of shots where he doesn't get, you know, super wobbly, even though he got dropped 3 times against Kevin Lerena. But it seems like when Daniel DuBois decides that he's more or less had enough, even if his legs haven't necessarily said, you know, oh, hey, we're giving out, it just seems like he kind of falls away You know what I mean? He falls away from the action, whether it's onto it. I mean, we've seen it from a lot of fighters in the past. I mean, I've seen, I think, heavyweight Michael Grant, or not Michael Grant. It was Jameel McCline. I had seen him kind of negotiate his way into or out of fights in certain cases. But I really feel like that's what happened here. I'm not calling him a quitter or anything. He took a lot of punches over the course of this 8 rounds and some change. But if they were a little bit more like diligent in looking at what constituted a low blow versus a borderline, belt line style shot, this could have been a stoppage win for Daniel DuBois, because Usyk looked like, Usyk was down for like over a minute. And even after that first minute, he spent another few minutes recovering. And the ref gave him all kinds of time to recover. The replay clearly showed, or at least, you tell me, did it clearly show that it should have been a legal blow? It was on the lower side of the belt line, you could say. There was definitely some glove that was hitting, some glove was making the belt line, some glove was just on the bottom portion of that belt line. But the way that Usyk just dropped to the canvas, he didn't even think about it. He just went down, laid on his side. He was in agony, visibly in agony, when that punch landed. So to me, there is some controversy in this one. But, they ruled it how they ruled it. It ended up not even being considered a knockdown. And, the rest is history. Usyk went on to box well again. DuBois had his moments even after that knockdown. DuBois was dangerous whenever he decided to let his hands go. I just felt like if he had a little more Derek Chisora in him, this fight could have potentially gone his way. I don't know if that's because there is a precipitous decline or an observable decline in Alexander Usyk's athleticism in his legs. I do think his legs have slowed down just a bit. If you watch obviously a lot of his cruiserweight fights, his legs were phenomenal. His legs still are very, very good. And again, I'm not even suggesting that he has declined, because, body shots can weaken your legs to where you're not as fleet of foot after taking a few lumbering, pummeling right hands to the belt line. You're just not going to move the same after that. So maybe that is exactly what was going on, and it wasn't an indicator of Usyk slipping, basically. Look, we knew that Daniel DuBois was a dangerous fighter going into this fight. I just thought that if he bit down a little bit more, threw some more punches, things could have gotten interesting. I'm just thinking that based on what I saw from Usyk when he did eat some of those punches to the belly or to the side of the belly. But I will say that if Tyson Fury was watching this fight, I wouldn't be surprised if Fury is now more comfortable with taking a fight against Alexander Usyk. I think Fury's looking at this thing like, hey, if Daniel DuBois was able to do that to Usyk's body and draw that reaction, we know Tyson Fury likes to throw his weight around. I don't think Fury would be boxing Usyk from the outside, getting picked apart by somebody who's got faster hands than him and maybe better reflexes than him. I think that he's going to use his 260 or 270 plus pounds on Alexander Usyk to slow those legs down, make this more of a battle of attrition, start getting rugged much in the same way that he was getting rugged against Deontay Wilder in the second and third fights. So I think that Tyson Fury is going to feel a lot more bold after this Usyk versus DuBois fight. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Usyk versus DuBois. Did you find it as interesting as I did, or am I making too much of some of those moments that DuBois was having and some of the impact, again, the observable impact that a lot of his punches had on Alexander Usyk? And also, will Tyson Fury take advantage of what we might have seen in this Usyk-DuBois fight? Let me know your overall thoughts on this one. How did you have it scored through 8 rounds? What did you think DuBois did well? What do you think he could have done better against Usyk to have more success? And do you think you saw any noticeable decline in Usyk, or was it all a byproduct of some of the work that Daniel DuBois was doing? And again, Daniel DuBois had some interesting counter-punching moments, right? I wish, again, that he led more, but there were some times where Usyk would miss a shot. You would see Daniel DuBois, who doesn't do a ton of head movement, but sometimes he would kind of slip a shot and throw something in return. He would usually miss with some of those shots, but some of those were like, whoo, if he landed with that, One of those types of things. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And please, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Wood. Thanks for tuning in.